Hi everyone, this is Arcadius and welcome back to Naval Creed. Today we'll be going over the newest prism ship, that is the Japanese cruiser Chikuma. She's a fun little ship actually, and you'll be surprised with some of the things that she has. But before that, there are a couple Facebook updates to go over, as well as an interesting post that is not an update, but is a premonition of what's to come in the future, part of which actually did come out in this most recent update, and part of which is still in the future. Before that, however, I do want to draw your attention to those who have it, to the dry dock. Now, there hasn't really been much difference over here. However, the Mogador destroyer over here did get her turrets just recently. The last time we looked at the ships in the dry dock, she did not have them. I'm not sure if this means that these ships are anywhere closer to being released in the game, but I would assume it would. Potentially within the next couple months or so, I would say. Usually it takes about 5 or 6 months for these or a new line to come out. We saw that with the Russian battleships as well. Potentially all the way up to a year, honestly. But I am very much looking forward to these ships. I've always loved French destroyers, and I'm very excited for their gameplay. Now then, back to the actual material we have. Let's take a look over the most recent updates and see what has changed. Alright, so this was the update last week. Chikuma and Raphael are available in the shop now. Chikuma for prisms, Raphael for diamonds, I'm assuming, since she's an event ship. And here's some changes to Takao and Cleveland. The German battleships. So we have Ersatz York, Gneisenau, Bismarck, Grosse Kurfürst, Frede de Gross, and Rhineland, which are all named for me. That would be York Replacement, Gneisenau, Bismarck, H39, H41, and H42, for those who do not change their names, have a new repair consumable, which is actually kind of very, very strong. You go from 120-second reload with the non-standard, or 80-second with the elite, to 80-second standard, 40-second elite cooldown. That's a difference of 40 seconds, which in game is a lot. Which also makes sense for these ships though, because as brawlers, they're gonna be set on fire a lot quickly and potentially more often than any other battleship. So to be able to put them out quicker and not just take a ton of fire damage is going to be very helpful. And I assure you, in the games I've played, it is very, very nice. Changes to Bismarck, matchmaking weight to 8.0. It was like an 8.3 or 8.2, something like that. Maybe now we'll stop seeing it in 10.0 games. Not that I don't mind. I do enjoy slapping a Bismarck once in a while with a Montana, just because I remember how much trouble Bismarck gives me at its own tier. Maybe I will not be able to do that anymore. Gneisenau, here's a big change. Secondary range from 5.0 to 6.5 kilometers. It is now worth it to run a full secondary build on Gneisenau, believe it or not. You'll get out to like 8 kilometers, I think, now. We will do another video on Gneisenau. We'll be able to show off the new camo, too. I don't think we've been able to do that too often. And we'll show her how she plays with a full secondary build. I've played one game. It is exceptionally fun. Tirpitz, increase maximum torpedo damage. That's always nice. I always like to rush in with my torpedoes. You know this. And some changes to Japanese aircraft, and yeah, some small stuff, but some work done on the German battleships, which is very nice. All right, now this is a development dialogue or diary, whatever you want to call it. We just recently had one, but we have another one. And this one is in regards to event ships, which are currently no longer available because the event that you were able to earn them is over. However, they are re-releasing them, or at least some of them, for purchase. These will be found in the special shop? I think I found them in the special shop for diamonds. And then if they have any camos, you can find those in the camo store as well. It looks like they're doing it in batches, but what we'll be able to get is U.S. carrier Hornet, West Virginia, and the destroyer Halford, the German battleship H-41, Italian cruiser Giuseppe Garibaldi, British destroyer Trafalgar, British battleship Prince of Wales, Soviet cruiser Kronstadt, Japanese ships cruiser Akitsushima, and carrier Akagi. Now, out of all of these, I don't have Akitsushima or Akagi, which I'm hoping to actually get. Now, this is interesting because I have done on videos on all of these ships, or at least not including the last two, on the basis of that you might run into them during game, and so you should know what you're facing up against. I didn't necessarily do it based on the fact that you'd actually be able to play them, ironically enough. I kind of enjoyed the fact that if you didn't play the event, you wouldn't be able to get the ship, but then again, just giving them out like this afterwards means you might not see a lot of event participation if they're just going to hand them out for just an easy cash afterwards. They're going to be prisms. Prisms? Interesting. I will have to double check that. Or rank points if you really wanted them to. Honestly, though, 25 rank points for these ships. The best ones, or the ones I enjoy the most, I like West Virginia. I like Garibaldi. Prince of Wales is absolute monster. I love it. But all the other ones are kind of meh, honestly. But it's nice that we'd be able to get the Kitsushima and Akagi as videos in the near future. Now, make note, this is not all of the event ships. There's not Invincible here. There's not Mikasa. There's not Anshan either. That's one I would really like to see. So not all the event ships are available, but these are some. You can get some camos as well, event camos. So you have the Fuso camo, which for me is Surigao, Gasogna Xmas, which is Lafayette, Chapayev Xmas, which is Shalkov. You have the Wisconsin camo for Iowa, which for me is New Jersey. Camo for West Virginia, which is, what did I say that? I forget. Anyways, yeah, you can also use 2,500 gems to buy each of the camos and get some ships here as well. Cool. So that's coming out in the near future. This most recent update does see some of those ships come out already, and we will go over that. But yeah, so we have West Virginia, Prince of Wales, and H41 out for right now for 2,000 prisms or 24 rank points. And then Prism Pack version has 20% off discount for 2 weeks. Cool. So if you don't have these and you have seen my videos and or just have wanted them in general, go for it. Out of all these, I would say Prince of Wales and West Virginia are going to be the better ones. H41 is not really much different from Frederick de Gross or H39, and honestly H39 is better considering she gets torpedoes. H41 does get bigger guns, but they're not always that much better, and you can run the same guns on Grosser First or H42 if you go with a slightly smaller, what are they, 420s? 430s? Something like that. I run with the 480s, but you can also run with the smaller guns as well. So definitely Prince of Wales and West Virginia. Prince of Wales if you like fires, West Virginia if you love Overmatch, and potentially pretty good AA as well. Oh, you can also get the sister ship of West Virginia as well. All right, so this is where we're going to see quite a few changes to American battleships. Well, maybe not a lot of changes, but enough of a change that I feel like we're going to have to do another line of videos up through the American battleship line, or at least from North Carolina onwards, because there's a lot of change to dispersion, and they really got some work done on them, let me tell you. I've played games through North Carolina all the way up to Montana, and the accuracy is really, really good. So they mainly changed the vertical dispersion. So your shells won't go nearly as far up or down. They'll be more in a horizontal line as they reach the target, which is good because you're gonna normally want to shoot waterline, and you hit waterline a lot more. Especially in North Carolina, we have decreased the dispersion by 14%. That's a massive number. The ship was kind of a shotgun, and I tried to make her full accuracy build. I had the module, I was working on the crew skill. But with this change, she's already really, really good. And then Iowa, Montana, Galaxy Flame, which is for me Orion, and Massachusetts. I haven't tried Massachusetts yet, actually. 11% change, so even more accurate. And then Missouri got a 9% change, so not too bad, but she was already pretty good. Changes to Soviet battleship Project 21, which is Lenin, I think. Got a few more hit points, and then some changes to Fen Yang, which I really don't think she needed any, but it works out because she has a heal that goes from 16% to 20% of a heal. She gets 6 of them, so that just makes her even stronger. Decrease the cooldown for said heal from 60 seconds to 40 seconds, so yeah, that's nice. Already some changes to Chikuma. That's why I kind of waited a week until they figured out everything. Changes to the aiming system module. So she originally had the OG cruiser aiming module, which was minus 7% dispersion, because she was an 8.0 ship and she wasn't access to anything above that. At that point, I ran her with gun rotation and reload, which was extremely nice. But now she has the adjusted one, which is actually minus 15% dispersion. So now I'm kind of working on her as an accuracy and just a sniper. Her guns don't really rotate as fast as I'd like them to, or reload as fast as I'd like them to. But overall, I have had no complaints with the ship at all. Then there's that. So those are the big updates that have happened so far. Let's head back to the game. Alright, going back up to the game, let's take a look at the store and find where those ships are. I think it's going to be under sister ships for the Camos. So let's take a look. It does take a little bit longer on my game to load. Alright, there we go. So let's see. We have West Virginia right there. So you can get her. And the special store, I'm pretty sure, is where you get them. Yep, here we go. So we got H41 for prisms or rank points, Prince of Wales for prisms or rank points, and West Virginia for prisms or rank points. So if you are interested in any of those ships, be my guest. We probably could do another video on Prince of Wales as well. She did have that increase to her HE 5%, which was already high to begin with, so wasn't really needed, but it just, oh jeez, it makes it really strong. Alright, now for the main reason why you are watching this video. Chikuma. Why get Chikuma versus Tone? And I actually have a good argument for that. When we were first looking over the stats, it kind of looked like it was just a copy-paste of the ship. I assure you, it is not, actually. She still has the same playstyle, but she does get a few interesting tidbits. Alright, so Chikuma. Let's go over base stats first. We got 38,800 health, 20% torpedo damage resistance, which is actually pretty high if I remember correctly. Tone had some of the best torpedo damage resistance of all Japanese cruisers. She also has 20%. What does Tago get? 18%. Yeah, so it's not too much of a difference, but I mean, every percent counts. So we got pretty good health, torpedo damage resistance. What about armor? Max of 175, which is 8 inches. Or just, no, 7 inches. I can't count. And then belt is 4 inches. I will assure you, if you get hit hard enough by battleship shells, you will get citadeled. And I have Citadel cruisers, or this same cruiser with my Chikuma with the 8-inch guns, very easily at the bottom of the waterline as well, because your Citadel does stick above the water. So she plays just like any normal Japanese cruiser. Angle as best as you can, use your maneuverability, use your speed. Don't know what these are, those are interesting. Anyways, let's go back to the ship here. We got some 4 main guns, 4 secondary turrets, 4 torpedo tubes, hangar capacity 16. Remember that, okay? 16 planes. And then we got some AA. You can see the rest of the stats there. These guns, they don't reload as fast as Tone, so at first that seemed to be a drawback. However, these guns are actually pretty nice. Going back The cruiser, yeah, as you can see there, minus 15% main gun max deviation, which is always nice. What is this? I don't remember that. Ooh, that's interesting. All right, well, we'll go back to that in a second because I actually just saw that. Anyways, the guns. HE max damage 3500, AP damage 5800, HE piercing 40 millimeters, velocity is the same, fire chance is pretty good. I've played quite a few games in the ship actually, mainly because every other time there's a new ship that comes out, I play it once or twice and then make a video on it. So I actually wanted some experience with this one before I told you what my overall opinion was. I found armor piercing to be a little bit better than high explosive. For the majority of the time, you're going to want to use armor piercing and only use high explosive on targets such as destroyers and very, very angled ships. Other than that, just armor piercing the entire time. You're going to get a lot of good numbers. Maybe not a lot of citadels. I mean, you're still a cruiser, though. You're still going to get some. But you take massive chunks out of battleships, and any cruiser that's dumb enough to give you broadside, go for it. You do have really good angles facing backwards, so you can kite. Even though you will still get citadel through your stern if you do that. But if you kind of head away, and then once your guns are reloaded, you swing out, you fire all your turrets, and then you swing back in with your maneuverability, and then everything bounces off the edge, or just simple pens or overpens. So she does have good over-the-shoulder firing capability. The one thing you will find with her guns, especially this turret and this turret, so C and D turret is how I would acknowledge those, is that if you're shooting on this side and then you need to shoot on this side, only A and B turret can immediately turn, and the other two, C and D, have to turn 180 degrees. We've already seen that with Tone, but it stands to be a good reminder that if you immediately turn and change direction, you will only have half your firepower. So do keep that in mind. Main gun range, 16.2 kilometers, and secondary gun range is 5.7 kilometers. Got a couple twin 127s on each side of the ship. Nothing particularly useful. You may get a couple hits with them, but honestly, nothing to write home about. Cool. We got AA. The AA is same exact as Tone, so kind of garbage. But there is a benefit to that we will talk about afterwards. We're not there yet. And let's see what else we got. We have torpedoes. We have 4 triples. Yes, I think that's the one this one gets. 4 triples, max torpedo range 12.5 kilometers. Honestly, if you just start spamming torpedoes downrange, you can get some pretty decent damage if they hit. However, your angles are from like amidships and partially astern, and that's it. You don't have any forward firing ones, and you don't have any directly astern firing arcs either. They're pretty poor arcs, but they're pretty strong torpedoes. So, I mean, kind of works out. 62 knots, the rate of fire is kind of garbage, but so it is on every other Japanese cruiser anyways. Detectability range 1.8 kilometers, 165.21% torpedo flood chance. Still have no idea what that actually means, but there we go. Let's see, speed 35.5 knots. So she's very quick on her feet as well. And then we have her aircraft. Dive bombers, tier 10 dive bombers. As you saw, we got 16 of them, and they actually attack in a squadron of 4 planes. And they actually do quite a bit of damage when they drop targets. I've dropped everything from destroyers to carriers, and I found an average damage number, depending on how many bombs hit, of about 4,000 to 3,500 damage. I've also seen numbers all the way up to 5,700, close to 6,000. So these bombs actually do quite a bit of damage, believe it or not. They're especially useful on battleships to set fires and just do chunk damage. Do keep in mind, though, that they are dive bombers, and Tier 8 is a tier where a lot of ships have a lot of good AA. Looking at Massachusetts, Richelieu, any American cruiser you can think of, like Baltimore, Cleveland. So the ones, or the ships that you can single out that don't have a lot of AA, focus on those, or even destroyers, because none of the tier 8 destroyers have a lot of AA, actually. I think maybe Fen Yang might have the best, but you won't see her unless there's another player. But regardless, her dive bombers are actually pretty useful, and she gets quite a few of them. They reload pretty quickly, but if you can actually see in a note down here, you cannot use the float planes to spot any surface targets. In the games I've played, I actually don't know if that's accurate or not. I haven't really used the float planes to spot targets. I just kind of send them off on an adventure towards one corner of the map where there's a ship all by itself, and then I focus on everything else around me, and then occasionally check to see if I got some damage or set some fires from them. But you'll see how I play with them afterwards. So, pretty good setup. She's fast. She has armor, quote unquote. If you know, her armor is mainly angling. That's how she survives. Our secondaries exist. AA also exists for show. Torpedoes are pretty good. Angles are not so great. Dive bombers, surprisingly good, actually. And then let's take a look at what we can add. So we have the standard here. We have the standard here. Here, like I said, you get the better cruiser aiming module. You can also get this, which only carriers get. Your health points for your dive bombers is improved by 15%. I personally don't think I would run with this ever, but it is interesting that the ship is the only non-carrier to get that, I'm pretty sure. For here, we have normal repair party, we have normal heal, and we can get the AA barrage that we know we can get on Tone, or a Hydro, which is, well, the only Japanese ship in the entire game. I'm 100% sure, I'm pretty sure, that gets hydroacoustic search. I haven't really run into many instances where I would need it, mainly because the ship isn't really supposed to be that close to the front lines. It doesn't have the armor for that. It has the speed and, well, the maneuverability to dodge shells at range, and she has the guns to hit targets at range, and the dive bombers to also hit targets at range, and the torpedoes to hit targets at range. So you don't really need to be that close, but it is nice that you can actually use something more useful than an AA defense barrage, because you're not going to shoot anything down when you have pretty limited AA defense. Alright, so enough about this ship. Besides, she has a nice camo too, I will say that. Let's toss her in the game and show you what she plays like. Alright, let's see what kind of game we have today. We have Richelieu, Vanguard, Tirpitz, Helena, Belfast, Cleveland, Neptune, New Orleans, and a Chikuma. So no carriers, no destroyers, and not really any good targets for my dive bombers right off the bat. We're going to switch to HE first. Actually, we might get a couple broadsides for cruisers. So Tirpitz might be a good dive bomber target. Vanguard, not really, but potentially later on. Richelieu, absolutely not. Neptune, absolutely not. No Cleveland. Chikuma, we could. Belfast, we could. New Orleans, we could. Alright, so there are a few specific ships we have to avoid, but overall it shouldn't be terrible. Move that there. And yeah, so we already have 12 aircraft and spares, and we have 4 that we can immediately send up already. Torpedoes. Those are the angles that I was telling you about. They're not terrible. Well, actually, they are kind of terrible, but they're useful. You can still use them. They're not like Yubari. Yeah, it was Yubari. Yubari torpedo angles. Those are absolute trash. Over the shoulder firing. Let's see what kind of gun angle we can get. Well, we can actually use number 2 turret all the way over to there. But if we want to use all of them, a little bit more. We can use 3 for a while. To get that 4th one, it's going to be something like that. Alright, so that angle is kind of garbage. But if you don't want to use the number 4 turret, then you have a lot better angle. Alright, now we're actually starting to see some ships. Let's put our aircraft in the air for right now. There's the enemy Chikuma's dive bombers right there. Cleveland. Hi, Cleveland. There's a Helena. I'd like to drop her, if possible, but we're gonna have to take out this Cleveland first. You know what? Let's drop some torpedoes out here as well. We have the range, so might as well try. I did switch over to high explosive, but that was mainly because the Cleveland wasn't giving me a good angle to shoot at. Almost 7K on that Helena, so that works out. Ooh, those are some big shells. No thank you. Got a fire. It's nice. Let me get a couple shots onto this Vanguard as well. I'm actually going to bring back my dive bombers because Cleveland is less than 5k out, or km. So I'd rather keep my dive bombers than lose them, even though I do have quite a few of them. Let's pop a hydro, not because I think these cruisers will magically spawn torpedoes, but you never know what's around this corner. So I'm not really in a good position to use any of my aircraft, unfortunately, which is kind of upsetting. Sometimes you have a lot of good damage with them, sometimes you barely use them at all. Alright, secondary is getting some damage as well. I could very well switch over to armor piercing, but at this point she's just going to go down. Alright, let's see if we can finish off that Neptune real quick. And we're going to switch over to armor piercing. You know what? Let's try it. Mainly because Cleveland does not have a lot of time to shoot at my planes before they drop, so we may actually get a pretty decent amount of damage on her. However, I don't really want to be rushing at Tirpitz, I will tell you that. Alright, so let's see how our dive bombers do. Better angle, switch back to armor piercing. Alright, so the dive bombers are not spotting the Cleveland, which is nice. 3 bomb hits, 3,000 damage. I'll take that. We did lose one, but as she's coming around the corner here, we have armor piercing. And that did 6,500. So it worked out in that case. I'm actually going to ignore the Cleveland for right now because she's not that big of a threat to me. However, these battleships certainly are. And you know what? We're actually going to toss some torpedoes into here. And see what kind of anthill we can stir up. Ooh, we are being shot at by someone. Is it the Cleveland? I didn't see where those shells were coming from. Don't know. Cleveland is actually starting to give us some broadside, so I think I'm going to let my torpedoes do the work and see what I can do against this cruiser. Our torpedo should be arriving on target shortly. Wow, we got only one hit. It's kind of upsetting. And we have a Belfast and a New Orleans over there. You know what? Let's try and drop that Belfast. I'm not going anywhere near this AA mass over here, so I'm going to have to take care of that myself. But if I have my dive bombers work over the targets that are not necessarily my priority before they become my priority, then they'll be already a little weakened. And possibly have a lot of fire damage as well. What is this Richie doing? Alright, so I'm not in a good spot to torpedo her because I think she's going to be reversing. But I think we'll be able to start torpedoing her pretty soon. Let's just... Oh, nope, wrong target. Here we go. Well, she's going to be down here anyways. Oh well. But yeah, you can use your torpedoes pretty offensively. I didn't catch to see if we had bombed that Belfast or not. Oh no, it looks like we did. Because we only got 3 bomb hits on the Cleveland, so that one extra one must have been on the Belfast. But we did lose half of our number. Alright, let's just pop a heal. Torpedoes are hitting sunken ships, so not really anything right there. Alright, let's finish off this New Orleans here. Just kidding. Alright, now we only have the Belfast. Probably not going to be able to launch another bomber strike against her, but we're going to try it anyways. And we're going to switch back to high explosive because of the angle. And back to armor piercing because of the angle. So we should be able to... we got the aircraft in the air, but I don't think she's going to survive very long. Alright, so we didn't clear the island. That's fine. Maybe we can get her with the planes. Hold on. Is Richie... yeah, I think the planes are going to get her. Just kidding. Vanguard just slapped her. Alright, well, it was still a pretty good game. Not my best, but I didn't sink, so that works out. So you can see how you can be kind of aggressive with your ship as long as you're not being a priority target. But you can also kind of shoot mid-range and long range, especially with those bombers. Those bombers are nice. So 121,000 damage, 2 ships sunk, 149 shell hits, 1 torpedo hit, 4 bomb hits, 3 fires, 1 flooding, 1 defended cap, 30 secondary hits. Main battery, 32,000 damage in high explosive, 47,000 in armor piercing. Fires did just short of 13,000 damage. That was pretty nice. Secondary battery actually did 3,500 damage. That's surprising. And torpedoes did 13,000 damage. Well, we only really had 1 hit. And then bombs did 11,000 damage, just short of 12,000. So overall, pretty good. Before the ship came out, I didn't really see a purpose as to why you would get it. But overall, I've had quite a few enjoyable games with this ship. Between her hydro and her high damage dive bombers, the ship is pretty nice. Especially with the increased accuracy. I don't think Tone gets access to that accuracy. Yeah, she only gets minus 7%. So it's kind of something special to her, which is always nice. And she's a prism ship, so she gets the additional free XP bonus. So for me, I get 180% free XP for the ship anytime I play a game, which is very, very nice if you're trying to grind for XP. I also had quite a few of crew skills with her as of right now, so if you're wondering, hey, my Chikuma doesn't play like that immediately, I have put some free XP into her already. So as of right now, that is how the ship plays. She's a very good ship. She doesn't have much different playstyle from Tone, so if you're really looking for a prism ship that stands out from the others, this may not be the best ship. At that point, I'd probably go for something like Kitakami. If you wanted to, though, you know my opinion on Kitakami. Maya is also a prism ship. She's not terrible, but she's just a cow with better AA. Azuma is pretty nice, but she's not a prism ship, she's a diamond ship. But Chikuma is pretty nice. I do enjoy her, and she's a fun ship. I don't have any drawbacks about her, besides just the normal Japanese cruiser weaknesses of no AA and pretty bad armor. But you have good guns, good torpedoes, good aircraft, good speed, and you're maneuverable. So, I really do like this ship, and I recommend it if you are interested into it. Furthermore, we will be now focusing on a couple of the update ships. So we'll be going over Now's new secondaries, showing off her new camo as well, and then going through potentially the rest of the German battleships. However, I'm not too inclined to do that. But we will also be going over the American battleships with their new dispersion. So we'll show you how they play now, which is very, very nice, I do assure you. With that, though, I will end this video here. If you like the video, make sure you like and subscribe for further content, and join me next time. As I mentioned, we'll be going over Now and her brand new secondary range. So thank you so much, and take care.